Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now we are seeing Bitcoin and pretty much the rest of crypto experience a pullback while the stock market is pulling back as well. And this pullback is mostly based on what the Fed is about to do next month. This will be important to pay attention to, and I'll be talking more about that later in this video. But first, giving you a quick update on the 12-hour Bitcoin charts. And if you're looking at the parabolic stopper inverse indicator, we have just seen our first red dot again, which is obviously not really a good sign. That is more bearish than bullish. But with that being said, the 12-hour Bitcoin RSI and the 12-hour Bitcoin MACD have not flipped bearish just yet, because the RSI, for example, is technically still in an uptrend, forming higher lows and higher highs. So that is actually a good sign for Bitcoin on the 12-hour chart for now. Obviously, that can change moving forward if the stock market continues to dump, for example. And the same goes for the MACD. At the moment, we are still sitting in the green if you're looking in the histogram, and we have not seen the bearish cross just yet. But over the past one day, we have been slowly approaching another bearish cross, so keep that in mind. So just to summarize this 12-hour Bitcoin chart, right now at the time of recording this video, we have one confirmed bearish signal, but the RSI and the MACD as of right now have not confirmed another bearish signal. So technically speaking, as of right now, once again, we still have two bullish signals and one bearish signal. And if you're looking in the price action itself, I would keep an eye on this previous low coming in at around 38.4K approximately, because if the Bitcoin price breaks below that low and obviously forms a new lower low, then in that case, we are not in that shorter term uptrend that I was mentioning over the past couple days. So ideally for any Bitcoin bulls out there, we need to hold above that previous low at around 38,500, give or take, in order to start a higher low structure. And honestly, the only thing bullish about potentially forming another lower low is if we can form another bullish divergence, which is technically still in the cards. But what is more important than the 12-hour Bitcoin chart is of course the daily Bitcoin chart. And right now the price of Bitcoin is testing this important ascending line of support if you're going off the daily candle closes. And this line of support is coming in at just above $39,000 per Bitcoin. And of course, in order to actually break that support, we will need to see a daily candle close below that support line. And right now, there's around 6 hours left to go until the next daily candle close. So only time will tell whether or not we see the next daily candle close above or below support. And if we do end up seeing a daily candle close below 39,000, obviously that would be a bearish signal. In fact, that would be our first significant bearish signal on the daily time frame that we have seen over the past 3 months, because obviously over the past 3 months, the Bitcoin price has been holding above that level of support, which is why it is very important to keep an eye on these price levels. But of course, it is important to mention that even if we see the Bitcoin price break below this ascending line of support, we still have some other levels and ranges of support. For example, this price range coming into play at around $37,000 to $38,000 per Bitcoin, because previously the Bitcoin price has found a lot of support in that price range, and that is also a Fibonacci level. And by the way, if you want to get real-time updates on what's happening in the Bitcoin price, make sure to follow me over on my Twitter, and the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. And now giving you a quick update on the 3-day Bitcoin chart. In case you are new to this channel, what I have drawn out here is the downtrends and uptrends that we see in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, and the fact that they are leading indicators for what happens in the Bitcoin price on the 3-day time frame. Obviously, if the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is in a downtrend, that means we're about to see some more bearish price action. But on the flip side, when the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is in an uptrend, that means we're about to see more bullish price action on the larger timeframes. And technically speaking, ever since the beginning of this year, both the Bitcoin price and the Bitcoin RSI on the 3-day time frame have been in an uptrend, because obviously since the beginning of this year, the Bitcoin price has been forming higher lows and higher highs. And of course, the same can be said about the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, but right now we are testing that previous low, which by the way, that previous low in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is coming into play at around 41.5. And right now, at the time of recording this video, the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is coming into play at around 43. So basically, if we see the RSI form a new lower low, then that is our first bearish sign on the 3-day Bitcoin chart that could be hinting towards a possible trend reversal on the larger timeframes, and obviously that is not good for Bitcoin. But at the time of recording this video, right now that has not happened. I want to make that clear. But looking in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD, just over the past 1 day, we have now confirmed a bearish cross in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD. But what is really interesting about these bearish crosses we've seen in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD over the past 1.5 years is basically we see one false signal and then one accurate signal and then one false signal and then one accurate signal. And right now we are seeing another bearish cross in this indicator. But now getting into one of the main causes to this recent Bitcoin pullback, which is of course the stock market experiencing a continued pullback. And obviously if you've been on this channel for a while, you would know that I pretty much always say if the stock market experiences a decent pullback, we're going to see a very similar thing in crypto prices, and vice versa. If we see see a pump in the stock market, we're going to see a similar thing in crypto prices. So because the US stock market, by the way, this is the S&P 500 index on the daily time frame, because the S&P 500 index is still trending down, that will add some selling pressure on Bitcoin and other cryptos. And now, what is the reason for the recent dump in the stock market over the past 1 to 2 trading days? And one of the biggest reasons that is causing this is the Fed, more specifically Jerome Powell, hinting at a 50 basis point hike next month. And in case you are new to this channel, it was at the end of last year leading into the beginning of this year that the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, basically said to everyone that the Fed is planning to raise interest rates in March and continue raising interest rates throughout this year. And he was hinting at the majority of those interest rate hikes being 25 basis point hikes, which means raising the federal funds rate by 0.25%. And as soon as everyone heard about that back at the end of last year leading into the beginning of this year, the markets began pricing in those interest rate hikes because, of course, interest rate hikes are more bearish than bullish on the markets. And then when we eventually saw that 0.25% interest rate hike last month, the markets actually pumped after that happened, even though it is technically more bearish than bullish. And the reason why we pumped after the interest rate hike is because the markets already priced in that interest rate hike months before it happened. And up until recently, the majority was expecting another 25 basis point hike next month, but only just recently, the head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, hinted that a 50 basis point hike is probably going to be more likely to happen next month. And so right now, we're basically seeing the markets price in that slightly larger interest rate hike, which is slightly more bearish than a 25 basis point hike. And then if history is any indication, once we finally see that interest rate hike, the markets could experience another bounce after the interest rate hike actually happens, because once again, we're already pricing it in right now as everyone is beginning to expect it. Now, with that being said, if you're looking in the daily RSI, technically speaking, this dump is not doing the RSI any favors. Right now, we are breaking this important line of support, but the S&P 500 is actually testing the golden pocket, which is coming in at around 4,280 to 4.3K. But over on the NASDAQ 100 index, it is not looking too good because we have already broken through that golden pocket. And of course, with the recent pullback in the stock market, that previous inverse head and shoulders pattern that I was talking about is no longer in its formation phase. And of course, it never actually confirmed. I was just pointing out a potential pattern that is forming, but yeah, right now we are no longer forming that pattern. So that is important to mention as well. But anyway, if you found this video useful or simply enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. And before you click off, if you want to make more money in crypto, even if markets are dumping, make sure to check out these uploads popping up right here on your screen. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.